Welcome, Broncos country. Welcome, Broncos country. Appreciate all of you donning your orange and blue coming in on a Tuesday night, 7 p.m. I'm going to be your host on this Rocky Mountain Sports Network Denver Bronco Roundup Podcast. Man, special edition, I should say, because we got a special guest as well. But my name is Keith Brugman. I'm going to go around the horn. I got to save Mile High Dutchie for last. I'm going to tease just a little bit. He said he has a special announcement. I'm scared. The last time he told me it was something good, he showed me his Halloween mask, which scared the crap out of me. That being said, I'm going to go to Trevor first. Trevor, Rocket Man, Salzman, how you doing, sir?
Oh, doing well, Keith. And I don't think I can match, what Albert's mask was. I don't think I could ever match that. So I was also, really scared that night. So, no, great to be here with you guys, and can't wait to talk more Broncos football. And yeah, it's still draft season, but hey, we got to relive some history at some point in time, right?
There you go, buddy. There you go, man. Relive some history. We'll relive some history tonight, man. And that's all because of our special guest here, man. Came up with a fantastic segment. If you saw the advertisement, it's the meat of the show, guys. Outside of this, we're going to have pretty much an open agenda, some ideas and thoughts we have thrown around. But Mr. Kenny Kirkpatrick of the K&K Sports Show, East Coast, buddy, coming in strong. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. For us on the East Coast, it is little after 9 p.m. So when Keith said 7, we got some of our East Coast followers following. It is 9 o'clock over here. So you are live. It is 9 o'clock Eastern.
Very good.
I'm just happy to be here, guys. As always, you guys are family, the cousins of the podcast world. We're the East Coast cousins. And for those who follow K&K, we like to come up with fun little segments. And I got a fun one for you guys tonight. Fun, unique little segment, and that's what we do on K&K. We try and be unique and bring some of that uniqueness over to Denver Bronco Roundup tonight.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Kenny Kirkpatrick, the K&K Sports Show, a plethora of shows that they have going on over there, guys. If you haven't checked them out, I guarantee they have one for you because they have a little bit of everything, man. From all sports to individual sports to betting, you name it. They got you covered, guys. Check out the K&K Sports Show, but we got to check out the Mile High Dutchie. He's got a special surprise for us, but first we got to say hello. Welcome, Albert, the birthday boy, Mile High Dutchie. How you doing, sir?
What's up, everybody? Like the Keith said, my name is Albert, and you're watching the Denver Bronco Roundup, everything about the Denver Broncos. And my special invitation it is not, my special notification was yesterday was April the 1st. It is called April Fool's Day, and I think I got you all.
Ooh.
Is it not his birthday?
No, it was my birthday.
Okay.
That's where I went too, man. I think you got me all on that one, if that was the case.
But weren't you all thinking what's going on? What type of surprise does he have?
Yep.
And it was an April Fool's surprise.
April Fool's surprise? Absolutely nothing. I see what he did. Man, we're all like worried about this big surprise. I'm thinking I'm being scared by my Halloween mask again, man. He just fooled us out of our boots. That's what it was.
Get the K claps for Mr. Dutchie on that one.
There you go. Well done. Well done. Put a tack on teacher's chair. Somebody fibbed on me. So Ernie Mays coming in here, man. He's no fibber. He's no fool. He's saying, go Broncos country. Hello, Keith and Trevor and the Mile High Dutchie and our special guest. I got to add in there, Mr. Kenny Kirkpatrick. We have Earl coming in there saying, hi, all great people here. Yeah, we do have a bunch of great people, man. Great point out, Pearl. All of you, all the people on the screen, can't be a greater bunch of people hanging out, talking some Broncos, just like Michael Ronquillo. Good evening, Keith, Albert, Trevor, and Kenny. Go Broncos. Big orange and blue hearts. Clapping it up.
My man, Michael. Sorry about your Arizona Wildcats, Michael. Good run. Good run to the Sweet 16, my friend.
Ain't that the truth, man? Arizona always in it, man. They're one of the funnest teams to watch, especially being on the West Coast. I think we all kind of root for the Arizona Wildcats every now and again. So, aloha, boys. We know who that is, Mr. Patrick Wiltsey. Mr. Patrick Wiltsey, who was our winner of our drawing And guess what? Shipment is out. It's on its way to Hawaii. So hope you enjoy that, buddy. Congratulations. We'll be having more drawings in the future. We're trying to get them lined up as we speak. Even our sponsors may be trying to get involved. We appreciate that. So Roy's coming in saying, good evening, Keith, Trevor, Kenny, and the whole posse.
Hey, Roy.
I love it. Finally, I think it's Roy, special hats off to you. I think you're the first one to say posse back to us. So we appreciate it, man. You are in the posse. Michelle's coming in. Evening, gents. Good evening to you. So
Michelle.
good to see you. Wow, you guys are just blowing it up in here. Adam's coming in. What's good, family? Grateful for y'all. Let's go. Grateful for you. Maybe you can give us some inside intel. Adam took a little trip down to Las Vegas just as of recently from what I've seen, and maybe he got some intel on the Raiders for us. That might help us out. And then we're getting a lot of highs going back and forth in the posse because we're all good friends and family, and we appreciate that a lot, guys. But let's just get right into it. Kenny, you came up with this fantastic idea. We were just talking about March Madness. We're talking about the Arizona Wildcats, and you said we should come up with an Elite Eight in a position. Kenny, why don't you tell us what you came up with, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, hey, we could have done 64, but, that'd be pretty funny to see who 64 versus 1 is. And we would need probably about 4 or 5 hours. So Elite Eight would be a nice little fun segment for the audience. Everybody knows March Madness is here. College basketball, Michael, just said about his Arizona Wildcats. So we came up with, right now they're in the Final Four March Madness. So the round before that is called the Elite Eight for people that don't know college basketball, the March Madness tournament. I came up with 8 and went over with Keith and the guys. We came up with 8 of the best all-time pass catchers in Bronco history, but we really didn't go back to the 60s, Keith, right? Because we got some younger people in the panel. Yep. So if you feel somebody's left off, that's the reason why. But we do have an Elite Eight. Maybe a little harder than you think when we get past this first round, and there might even be some surprises in this first round. So, posse, please play along with us. What I'll do is I'll give everybody stats, the years they played for the Broncos. I'll go around the panel. Posse will give us their votes, and the last person I pick for that round is, if there's a tie, they will be the tiebreaker. So I'm going to keep a tally. Some of these may be lopsided. Some of them might be come down to a tiebreaker. We'll see.
Yeah.
But Keith, I'm ready to roll if you are. And guys, you are ready to roll. I think I'm ready to get the first matchup underway in our bracket.
Well, I got one thing. For A, you didn't tell us the position that you decided on. And then B, I'll throw this graphic up on the screen. But absolutely, posse, we need you in. We need your help, man. I'm guaranteed that we're going to have some tiebreakers. I would love to get your guys' ideas on this. So, Kenny, without further ado, what position are we hitting in our Elite Eight?
All-time pass catchers. So it's going to be wide receivers / tight ends. And there's our Elite Eight. That's the rankings we came up with. So let's see if we get maybe an upset or two here in the first round. First matchup, Keith.
Before we get there, real quick, because Michael's jumping in here, and it helped remind me, we should talk about maybe some honorable mentions, because Michael Ronquillo is coming in here saying Rod Smith, Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, Ed McCaffrey, Cortland Sutton, and etc. There's some names right there in his list that we need to point out did not make it. Honorable mentions like an Emmanuel Sanders, like an Ed McCaffrey. Is there anybody else?
Ed McCaffrey is on there. Ed McCaffrey's our.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ed McCaffrey is on there.
I would say Eric Decker might be an honorable mention. He had some sneaky good years. Keith, maybe you can share, and then I don't mean to share your age, but I'm going to ask you some of the early Broncos that aren't on the list. That when you start talking 60s.
Yeah, those Riley Odoms that could possibly be on this list as well, man. That's a name that I'd like to see on here. But yeah, there's a multitude of names. We tried to narrow it down, but we threw this up on the Rocky Mountain Sports Network chat group, and a few people named out, like a Brandon Lloyd, for instance. Anybody else that Albert, Trevor, you want to throw an honorable mention out to?
Not that I know of.
No, I would just say, go ahead, Dutchie.
Definitely not Jerry Judy.
Maybe the Three Amigos get an honorable mention.
Yeah, there's one in there that I was leaving out there, that you could certainly snatch up if you really want to, because Vance Johnson, if you look at the all-time receiver list, he is way up there. Receiving yards overall, he is a guy that certainly could see some love. Trevor, I'm sorry, I took over. Anybody for you, sir?
No, I was just going to say maybe Julius Thomas as far as touchdowns, just because he was such an impact, when during the Peyton Manning era. But no, I also actually think Brandon Marshall may need to be raised a little bit, because I think we forget a little bit what he did without a franchise quarterback. Remember, he came from an era with Jake Cutler to Kyle Orton as his quarterback. So he's a guy that some of us forget to acknowledge, but he was truly greatness. I mean, with the franchise quarterback, that guy would have been, I think, just a Hall of Fame type wide receiver.
Well, you'll be able to talk to him here in a little bit, because I think Kenny's about ready to get to that 1-8 matchup. Kenny, why don't you kick us off, sir? I don't know if we have a mic for me. Oh, we might have lost Kenny's mic at all the wrong periods. No?
He is muted.
I can.
He's trying.
I can't unmute him, but he
there
is.
There
it is. Hey, Kenny's back, everybody. All right. That'll be a fantastic live moment, Kenny. Appreciate it.
This StreamYard, I like to give the bloopers, the blooper reel out. So I'm not used to the StreamYard, but no, I'm kidding. I'll do this first round, Keith, the way I see it on my screen. So you're up first. Dutchie will be next, and Trevor. And again, everybody play along. I'm going to throw out their stats with the Broncos and some stats that you would, recognize here. So Rod Smith played from 1995 to 2006, ladies and gentlemen. 183 games. He is the 1 seed, by the way. 849 receptions, 11,389 yards, 68 touchdowns for Mr. Rod Smith. And he's going up against Brandon Marshall, the number 8 seed. Little less years, 2006 to 2009. He had 61 games with the Broncos, 327 receptions, 4,019 yards, and 25 touchdowns in that short period of time, Keith.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. I feel like I know that you said it's to me, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to default to Trevor. He started talking a little bit about Brandon Marshall. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give him the floor, because he was pounding the table that maybe Brandon Marshall shouldn't even be in the spot about having to go up against Rod Smith in the number 1 spot. So, Trevor, why don't you take it away first?
Yeah, so for me, see how I see it is, I think it's a great matchup, but I think Brandon Marshall is just a little higher. Like, I think he's better than Cortland Sutton. I think you can argue he's better than Steve Watson as well, because Brandon Marshall didn't just do it here in Denver. He also did it when he was in Miami and Chicago as well. And he never had a true franchise quarterback. And I remember watching back in the day, guys, and he would just leap over guys like it was nothing. I mean, you could throw a deep ball downfield, and 95% of the time he was going to catch it. I know, him kind of being a little bit of a diva wide receiver, maybe kind of put some water on how great he truly was as a wide receiver. But I just think that, in this matchup, it's hard to go against Rod Smith, but Brandon Marshall, man, he was truly any other matchup, he might go down to the wire with Rod Smith, just because overall wise what he's done throughout his career without a John Elway type of quarterback. That's my just kind of overall opinion on Brandon Marshall.
Very good point, Keith. I just want to clarify. It's while they were with the Broncos. So I think why he got the 8 seed, Trevor, and audience, is because he only played that short amount of time with the Broncos, as opposed to Rod Smith playing all those years. And this is an Elite 8, so he's in the top 8 of all-time Bronco wide receivers. So keep that in mind as well.
Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and I'll default to Dutchie again. Yeah, I might as well completely mess up your lineup. I'll go to Dutchie, and then I'll take the first one on the next one, I promise.
Sure.
See, most of these players are before I started even watching the Denver Broncos. 2012, I got involved with the Denver Broncos, and from that moment on, I know a lot about football. about the Broncos. Rod Smith, I've heard of, and I think he definitely deserves to be the number 1 seed. And I think he also needs to move on to the next round. Brandon Marshall, I've seen a lot of him when he was not with the Broncos. Was he a great wide receiver? Absolutely. But can he compare to Rod Smith? Definitely not. I like Brandon Marshall, and he definitely belongs here. But yeah, to go up against the number 1, that is Rod Smith, all out.
Yeah, and you got your significant other coming in here and agreeing with you, saying Rod Smith as well. Roy Osborne coming in saying Rod Smith for sure. Graham saying, I wish Rod would get recognition for the Hall of Fame. And that's really where we're at, guys, in my opinion. Here's a guy that really shouldn't have had any expectation figuring where he was drafted. Right? And to end up being the leading all-time receiver for the Denver Broncos, to be that guy that was Mr. Reliable, to be that guy that's in recognition for the Hall of Fame, it is tough on a guy like Brandon Marshall, because honestly, when you look at Brandon Marshall, he was in the vein of a Demaryius Thomas, that big body guy that would just absolutely take over and reach over the top of guys and snag balls, and was a physical guy. And glad Graham got my hint there. Best undrafted free agent wide receiver ever, because that's exactly where he was drafted. Wow. He wasn't. So this is a guy that, obviously, in a 1-8 matchup needs to move on. But I'm with Trevor. Brandon Marshall needs to get his accolades. He certainly did a lot outside of what he did in Broncos country up here in the Mile High. But even when he was here, put up some pretty impressive catches and some pretty impressive stats in the short term. So tough loss for Brandon Marshall, in my opinion, but I am going to go with Rod Smith as well.
Yeah, I mean, if Brandon Marshall had a couple more years, you may be talking as the best. Like he may be better than Rod Smith if he had a few more years with the Broncos. But I think because of the years, I think Rod Smith was the unanimous choice here. And so Rod Smith's going to advance. I think it was unanimous for Rod Smith. All right, our next matchup, Keith, you said you wanted to go first. I'm going to go down below. Our number 3 seed, great Shannon Sharp, 2 stints with the Broncos. His first stint was 1990 to 1999, everyone. And then he finished his career 2002, 2003. He came back with the Broncos. 172 games for the tight end, 675 receptions, 8,439 yards with 55 touchdowns. And he's going up against an old school, Keith, an old schooler, Mr. Rick Upchurch, 1975 to 1983. Football was different back then. It was, so he played in 119 games. He had 267 receptions, 4,369 yards, 24 touchdowns. This stat doesn't count, but he also had 8 punt return touchdowns for the Broncos. So, Keith, our 3-6 matchup has Mr. Shannon Sharp against Mr. Rick Upchurch.
Yeah, I'll start with the old guy first, a guy that not a lot of people know of, but Rick Upchurch. If you were going to make a comparison a little bit more short term to a Denver Bronco player, I'd probably put him up there with like an Eddie Royal. Eddie Royal, which was back there returning punts, returning kicks, doing an amazing job for a few years with the Broncos. Also end up being a receiver that end up being a go-to, whether it be for a Jay Cutler or Kyle Orton. These are names that are a little bit from the past, but a little bit closer to the future. He was all of what an Eddie Royal was plus, guys. And this guy was absolutely amazing to watch. One of the fastest wide receivers, always out running coverage. Rick Upchurch doesn't get his credit because of the time, and like you said, the time period that he played in as well. But man, he was an amazing and electric. Now, that being said, like you said, a lot of his yardage and a lot of his impressive stats may have come back on the return side of things. So we'll flip over to Shannon Sharp. And for me, Shannon Sharp, was a guy that I grew up with, a guy that I saw like side by side in my mental, locked in Broncos just all the time. I was watching Shannon Sharp about the exact same years and the exact same time, and that guy was amazing, absolutely amazing. I'm going to save some of my ammunition, but when you look at his yards, where he lists on the Denver Broncos all time, the type of player that he was, and the type of receiver he ended up being for guys like John Elway, it's going to be tough for me to go against a Shannon Sharp. So for me, I'm going to go Shannon Sharp over Rick Upchurch. I'm sorry, Rick. I really loved your game back in the day, but Shannon Sharp is one of those defining people. So for me, it's a Shannon Sharp.
Great. Keith, I do want to say one thing. There's a Facebook user that's saying this is hard. I'm a big fan of both. And that's what I want, Facebook user. Please let us know who you are, because this is supposed to not be easy. So I love that the first round matchups are even hard. So they're going to get harder, trust me, as we go along. Dutchie, you want to say anything about the 3-6 matchup here?
By the way, this is Pearl who came in with that comment real quick, Kenny.
Hi, Miss Pearl. Thanks.
Yeah. The only one that I know about is from old videos is Shannon Sharp. Yeah, I have to go with Shannon Sharp because that is what I know and that's what I've seen, and I really liked what I saw from him.
Fair enough. Trevor, your thoughts on this 3-6 matchup, Sharp versus Upchurch?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to go away from Shannon Sharp because he's probably the best tight end in Broncos history up to this point. So something the Broncos should probably be looking into, maybe in this draft, a tight end. I don't know, it's pretty important for a quarterback, but I think Shannon Sharp, listen, he's a big body tight end that just hard-nosed football. I remember back in the old days, watching film on him, he used to be on the phone and stuff like that after a touchdown, or, just the little things with him, his personality. He fit well with the locker room, and so Rick Upchurch, no disrespect to him at all, but Shannon Sharp, no doubt, has to move on here. The 1,000-yard seasons that he has a tight end, and just the impact player he was for John Elway. And what John Elway did for Shannon Sharp. Can't forget what John Elway has done for some of these guys on this very list. But Shannon Sharp, yeah, for sure, moves on for me, because also he's just wholeheartedly, to me, the best tight end in Denver Bronco history. So Shannon Sharp, for me, moves on.
Nice. I think we have another unanimous one there, and I believe that was my prediction as well, that Sharp was going to advance. So our next in the second round, that's going to be a heck of a matchup, guys. It's Rod Smith versus Shannon Sharp. I'm looking forward to that one. But in the meantime, Keith, we got two more. So I'll start this one with Dutchie. Rest in peace, Demaryius Thomas. He is the number 2 seed on this bracket, Dutchie. Demaryius Thomas, in audience, played from 2010 to 2018 with the Broncos. In 119 games, he had Demaryius Thomas had 111 games, 2010 to 2018, 665 receptions, 9,055 yards, 60 touchdowns, Dutchie. And he's going up against the present Cortland Sutton, who had, in my opinion, he had a breakout year, 10 touchdowns this past year, but he's been with the Broncos since 2018 to the present, Dutchie. He's played in 81 games, 298 touchdowns, 4,259 yards, and 24 touchdowns. But like I said, breakout year last year, 10 touchdowns out of those 24 came last year, Dutchie. So there's our 2-7 seed, Dutchie. I think you know a little bit more about these two guys, so I'd like to hear from you first, my friend.
Yeah, Cortland Sutton, he had one major comeback last year after his injury. He was 1 year, he was so-so, and then he came back with ferocity this year. I think he did really well, but it has to be Demaryius Thomas for me. What he did, and with Peyton Manning, that was unbelievable. And I think Demaryius Thomas and Peyton Manning, if those two were not there, we would not have gotten Super Bowl 50. And that's what I believe. And yeah, Demaryius Thomas, and he was a great character on the field and off the field. And I think that is something that has to be said as well, because he had a great heart. And in the end, and that is something that is, Demaryius Thomas.
Thanks, Dutchie. Great points. Trevor, I'll go to you next, and we'll finish this one with Keith.
Yeah, it's pretty unanimous for me as well. I think that what Demaryius Thomas did for the Denver Broncos and just kind of setting the expectation as far as that wide receiver. And honestly, I think that Peyton Manning probably wouldn't end up in Denver if it wasn't for a guy like DT, just that big open target downfield. I mean, he reminds me, like Keith said it, he reminds me of a Brandon Marshall type guy. Just goes up there and gets the ball. I know there for a little bit. We're talking about drops with Demaryius Thomas, but honestly, he made up for it. Just him being a player, and like Dutchie said, even better person with DT, being around the kids. He loved the Denver community and called it his home for a long time. And just his production, you just can't replace that, really. And I should think that him and Peyton Manning really complemented themselves very well. And it's a guy that Peyton Manning can count on, really. And I think that Demaryius Thomas is definitely up there as far as a top two, probably best wide receiver in Denver Broncos history. Just what he did on and off the field, man, just a true pro. And wish he could have played a little bit longer, because he was just so dynamic at his position. I'll never forget the Tim Tebow touchdown pass in the playoffs. I'll never forget that. It's just a classic DT moment, and rest in peace, DT. But I have DT moving on here, going to the next round.
That's awesome. And I think Jody and Trevor are sharing the same brain, because Jody put up the same. I'm loving all the comments, audience. I see it. I see it on the side of my screen there, and hearing some of your thoughts on this. So keep it up. I love it. So Keith, I'll let you get the final word in this matchup. What you want to say about DT and Courtland Sutton?
Yeah, I mean, it is tough. Courtland Sutton may very well have a great future. Already 13th overall on the yards list for the all-time Denver Broncos, and he's just started his career. Right quarterback, get it matched up. Not everybody can be matched up with a Peyton Manning, but that's one of the things that I'll also say about Demaryius Thomas. He was matched up with Tim Tebow, and Tim Tebow had games where he's going out there and had single-digit receptions in a game, and he was still able to climb through that, stay with that, be that productive receiver, and not only that, be that man that we all loved and that we all missed today. So absolutely, as Graham said, also broke my heart when he traded him. Yeah, it's tough when some of our heroes, when those guys that we really love get traded away, and that was another one. But Courtland Sutton very well could end up moving up on this list if we do this a few years down the road, guys. And it might be a tougher decision, but Demaryius Thomas is the one that moves on today.
By the way, Kenny, I was going to say this. So one of the, how we really just do not like Josh McDaniels. One of the best moves that Josh McDaniels ever made was drafting Demaryius Thomas in 2010. I mean, I'll never forget when DT was drafted, and people were talking about Des Bryant over Demaryius Thomas. But man, Josh McDaniels took a chance on Demaryius Thomas. He ended up being one of the better wide receivers we've ever seen put on a Denver Bronco uniform. And just kudos again to Josh McDaniels for taking him, because we wouldn't be here talking about Demaryius Thomas today if Josh McDaniels did not take DT in the first round of the 2010 NFL draft.
It's a great point there that I wasn't aware of, and I appreciate that info there, Trevor. Another unanimous one. 1-8s and 2-7s are supposed to be unanimous. You get that upset every once in a while in March Madness where it's 1-16, 2-15. But I wasn't expecting any upsets here. But here's the matchup I was looking forward to in the first round the most, guys. I'll start this one with Trevor, Dutchie, and I'll let Keith get the final word because I know he's seen Steve Watson play. So it has a matchup of our 4-5, Eddie McCaffrey versus Steve Watson, two similar type players, I believe. Eddie McCaffrey's stats, guys, I'll go with him first. 121 games played for the Broncos. He also played with the Giants and 49ers. He had 1 year with the 49ers. He had 462 receptions with the Broncos and even 6,200 yards with 46 touchdowns. Steve Watson played from 79 to 87, played on that first Broncos Super Bowl team with John Elway. 126 games played, 353 receptions, 6,112 yards, 36 touchdowns, Trevor. Very close comparison there different decade where they played. Curious to see where everybody's going to go in the audience as well on this one, because this could be the one that could be close to a tiebreaker here, in my opinion.
Man, this is like the most difficult matchup, hands down, for me. I originally had Steve Watson being my guy, and I think I'm going to stick with Steve Watson, honestly. He was just so underrated as wide receiver. And I know Eddie McCaffrey played longer, but it helps when you have a Hall of Fame quarterback that you're also playing with. Steve Watson also had that, but also didn't have the longest career in the world. But when he was on the field, he was just so productive. I'm going to go, maybe this is an upset to some others. I'm going to go with Steve Watson here to move on. Love Eddie McCaffrey, though, what he did. I think he's also a terrific head coach as well. So, and love watching him play. But, I think Steve Watson, for me, is the guy that I want to move on to the next round.
Nice. I got one there. Just keeping an eye on the chat. I got one for McCaffrey. But, Jody, you saying Watson was underrated. Give us your pick so I can mark it down, because I think this one's going to be close. Dutchie, I know you said you haven't really seen many of them, but I'm sure you've seen some videos on these guys. So why don't you give us your pick here in this matchup between McCaffrey and Watson?
Yeah, the only one I saw playing was Ed McCaffrey. Wasn't he part of the Super Bowl 32 and 33? That's from what I know.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it has to be Ed McCaffrey, because I have no knowledge of Steve Watson. So I cannot say anything and what I saw from Ed McCaffrey, yeah, it was good.
I'm going to say this is a tie right now, and I'm going to let Keith get the final pick here, because I do see some Watsons coming in, and I see some McCaffreys, and I know we're 1-1 on the panel as well. So I'm going to call it a tie, Keith, and you're going to get the final tie-breaking vote to make this fun last matchup in the first round here.
No pressure, man. I got all these votes coming in the chat. Appreciate the posse coming in, man. You guys have been fantastic. Appreciate you guys lighting up the board tonight and being part of the conversation, man. Giving me a lot of thought and giving me a lot of ponderment, and because I did get to see both of these guys play. Like you said, the overlapping of John Elway's rookie season and Watson came into play. Steve Watson was amazing, and he was kind of a freak to see out there, man. I don't know if I've seen a guy with longer legs out there running, routes than a Steve Watson. It seemed like disproportionately to the rest of his body. He was an absolute flyer down the field and would get behind coverage, and that's proved out in the stats that you were talking about, Kenny. You're talking about very similar yardage stats, but you're talking about kind of a lopsided number of receptions when you talk about these two. That's because of Steve Watson was just an electric, dynamic down-the-field player. As much as I loved Easy Ed McCaffrey, man, that guy would go over the middle. He would take hits. He'd get laid out. And as some of our viewers even said, he was a fantastic blocking tight end. I'll give that love to Michael Ronquillo. I'm going to have to break the tie with a Steve Watson moving on in this particular round. I think he deserves it, and he definitely needs some love. Some of our old school guys need some love here. Steve Watson's moving on. If you want to call him old school, he goes on to the next round for me, bud.
Nice. I'm going to break down our the guys going to the first round. I'll just throw 2 cents in about Steve Watson. An earlier episode, guys, of our K&K Sports Show a couple years ago, we had a former New York Giant on, Stephen Baker. They called him the touchdown maker. And he was a tiny wide receiver, but he told us some stories, and he told us a story that he met his old wide receiver tight end coach, Mike Pope, at a golf event later on. And he said to Baker, man, Baker, if you were in today's NFL, you would just before your time. And that's the exact words I'm going to use with Steve Watson. He was before his time, Keith and guys, meaning if he was in today's NFL, he might be like Cooper Kupp. He might be a Mike Evans. I've seen some videos of him as well. I think Steve Watson would be just that much better in today's NFL with somebody throwing him the ball that, in today's NFL, the way it's pass heavy. So that being said, our first round is over.
Kenny, I got to get to 2 things. First, I'm going to throw you this question. Mr. Kurt Valente, the other half of K&K Sports Show, has joined us. He said, "What's up, boys?" a little bit earlier, but he says, Mr. Kirkpatrick, How is Emmanuel Sanders not in this? He was clutch. He came up big in big games. Sanders should be on this list.
Who do you want to put him in there instead of Cortland Sutton? That'd be the only one I'll give you, because I put Cortland on there for a present Bronco to make it, more interesting. But who you taking off, Kurt? If you're putting Emmanuel in, would be my response to that. I'm curious. Like Cortland Sutton would be the one I would maybe take off, guys. I don't think I could take anybody else off that list. So anyway, advancing to the second round.
I said I had two things. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
Second thing is, man, I know that we're advancing on to that Final Four, and this is where the real champions start to shine. But the real champion for us tonight is Morgan Trinkets, buddy. That's our sponsor.
Oh, yes.
Morgan Trinkets. I'm telling you guys, started in 1990, 33 years experience. And if you're looking for Southwest jewelry or pottery or that estate gold at wholesale prices, this is your headquarters. This is the place you go. Once nationwide, like I said, now they just concentrate on northern Colorado and southern Wyoming. Beautiful pieces. All their silver is sterling silver from anywhere from $10 to $2,000. All their gold is real gold, 10, 14, 18 karat gold. All their shipping, it's free as long as you spend $50 or more. And the way you do that is head over to Morgan Trinkets on Facebook. That's Morgan Trinkets on Facebook, guys. And they transact all through PayPal when it comes to their Facebook page. If you catch them live, you can, one of those shows, major credit cards accepted. So I'm telling you guys, Morgan Trinkets, your headquarters for Southwest jewelry, pottery, as well as estate gold at wholesale prices. And I think even Michelle has something that she was talking about in the chat saying how beautiful her pieces were as well. So guys, check out Morgan Trinkets. We appreciate them. They appreciate you, and they have beautiful pieces. Nice little amethyst piece I was looking at just not that long ago, just to kind of give an example, man. That's my wife's birthstone. So, maybe, you never know. Kenny, that's all I got, man. Have you checked out Morgan Trinkets? If not, you got to do it today, buddy.
I will be, because my best friend and my other friend, they just got engaged. So we're going to be having an engagement party. So I will be looking on Morgan Trinkets for a nice little engagement present for them. So I will be checking them out shortly, as definitely keep.
Well, we're getting that votes in. I guess we should have put Sanders over Sutton. It's too late now, but the great question would be, would Sanders versus Sutton, for all those who are saying that, because I got multiple Sanders over Sutton, he would have been matched up against DT. Would DT or Sanders be moving on to the next round? That's really the question. We might be in the same spot. Break down our Final Four here, Kenny.
Yeah, no, just real quick. I wanted to make this as realistic of a final of an Elite Eight or a bracket as possible. And there's always a team or somebody left out that's supposed to be in a team. How did that person get in? Well, Emmanuel Sanders got the short end there, and Cortland Sutton, as Kurt would say, corrupt. We put Cortland Sutton in over Sanders, the corrupt committee. All joking aside, this should go faster now, guys. We got our Final Four. Is going to be the number 1 seed, Rod Smith, versus the 3 seed, Shannon Sharp. Looking forward to that matchup. And on the other side, we got the number 2 seed, Demarius Thomas, and our one upset in the first round, Steve Watson, advanced over Eddie McCaffrey. So our Final Four, I'll start on the left side. We'll start with Trevor. It's going to face Rod Smith, Trevor, and Shannon Sharp. For those tuning in late, I'll give the stats again. Rod Smith, 1995 to 2006, 183 games, 849 receptions, 11,389 yards, 68 touchdowns. Versus Shannon Sharp, 2 stints, 1990 to 1999, 2002 to 2003, 172 games, 675 receptions, 8,439 yards, and 55 touchdowns, audience and guys, if you needed that info again.
Appreciate it, Kenny.
Yeah, so for me, again, this is not really that close to me. Again, I think it's Rod Smith, and not just because of what he did with John Elway, but also after John Elway. I mean, talk about Jake Plummer when Jake Plummer was a quarterback. Rod Smith was a guy that Jake Plummer could also count on as well, and help Jake Plummer make a Pro Bowl. So for me, that's Rod Smith. I think Shannon Sharp, after the Elway days, his career started to decline a little bit. Nothing against Shannon Sharp at all, but Rod Smith he's just another level for me as far as a wide receiver. And he helped multiple quarterbacks out, not just a future Hall of Famer in John Elway, but he also helped Jake Plummer, who was just kind of your average to above average quarterback play at times. So for me, it's Rod Smith that moves on here, and come on NFL, put him in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. And Keith, I just want you to know, I do see Ernie's rounds. He gave us his round picks. I got him written down, so I'll give the tally at the end, but I do see Ernie's. I do want him to know I do see his.
Very good, bud.
I'll go to let's go to Dutchie next. He's on top of my screen.
Okay, for me, it would be Shannon Sharp, because Shannon Sharp is a more well-rounded player. He played as tight end and not just as a wide receiver. So it is more difficult to get the yards and the catches. So and he did really well. So it has to be for me, Shannon Sharp.
Nice. Last chance for people to vote. We got Keith coming in. It's close. Just so you guys know. So if there's anybody out there who wants to throw a vote in, get it in now. Keith, we'll get you, and you're cut off by Graham's. There you go.
I'm rolling through some comments. I put my big beard and ugly face at the bottom so that I get cut off, and you guys could be shown off. But yeah, I'll drop down Graham's comment. But yeah, this is a big round. Everyone's chiming in. We got people all over the board. Kenny, I this is where I said I was going to have to save the meat of my my argument for Shannon Sharp. I don't want to hear about Tony Gonzalez. I don't want to hear about Antonio Gates. Because when it comes to Shannon Sharp, that is a guy who revolutionized the position of tight end. He was no longer the blocking tight end. He was no longer expected to just get a catch here and there. Shannon Sharp went out there and he became the pass-catching tight end before anybody else. And he revolutionized that position. And he put the Denver Broncos in a position to win every single week because he was able to do something that nobody else in the league was doing. It became a copycat league, and everybody wants to be like Hall of Fame, gold jacket, Shannon Sharp. I'm giving it to Shannon Sharp over Rod Smith in this round, man. And that's tough to do for that undrafted free agent, but I just think he's a revolutionary in the sport. And I guess I'm not alone. I guess I'm not the only one out there because I've had a few people on the panel and a few people in the comments. I don't feel that bad.
I got it written down and I gave everybody. I was waiting for a last minute Shannon Sharp in the chat, but 5-4, Rod Smith advances over Shannon Sharp.
Oh.
He put up a heck of a battle by Shannon Sharp, but we got Rod Smith advancing to the final.
There it is.
Over a hair, a buzzer beater over Shannon Sharp. So just like March Madness, that was a heck of a matchup. Rod Smith advances to the finals. On the other side, I'm going to go to Dutchie first on this one. Demaryius Thomas, rest in peace, the number 2 seed. Again, his stats, Dutchie, 2010, 2018, 111 games, 665 receptions, 9,055 yards, 60 touchdowns against Steve Watson, 79-87, 126 games played, 353 receptions, 6,112 yards with 36 touchdowns, Dutchie. The 2-5 matchup here. Who are we going with to advance?
Demaryius Thomas. To me, Demaryius Thomas is a very unique wide receiver. He could do it all, and he did it all. And Demaryius Thomas.
I'll go to Keith next. Change the order up a little bit.
All right. I'll uncover my face from Michael Ronquillo's vote for Demaryius Thomas, but it's not going to change, man. I might as well just lift it up over my face. Steve Watson, you put up a heck of a battle. You took out Ed McCaffrey. You really showed it up for some of the older guys on this list, but Demaryius Thomas, who he was, what he was capable of, and quite honestly, the statistics that he put up. I'm sorry, Steve, you can't compete. I really appreciate you, man, but Demaryius Thomas is going to have to move on for me as well.
Yeah, I got a bunch of people in the chat saying DT, and Trevor, you get the the bench players' words in here. So it's a blowout. So the bench is coming in, and Trevor, you're on the bench. So give us the final thoughts on this one.
What I do to get on the bench? No, I'm just kidding. I mean, yeah, it's DT all the way. Again, this is a guy that top 2 probably all time Denver Bronco wide receiver. I would love to see a matchup of DT and Brandon Marshall. I would love to see where that discussion would have went. But yeah, DT, just again everything he did, and also just there's 2 different eras. Steve Watson and Demaryius Thomas comes from an era of Peyton Manning where it's a pass-heavy offense, right? And he's got all these weapons around him, and DT just flourishes in that. And so definitely Demaryius Thomas, I think, and no disrespect to Steve Watson. I think he was great in his own era, but different era. DT he was one of the best wide receivers in the NFL at his prime.
Yeah, well said, and chat well said. It was unanimous. Roy had it a slim margin, but everybody else had it pretty much unanimous. I'm with you guys. Steve Watson, again, before his time, if put him in today's NFL, might be a little closer to that 1 seed in his career if he started his career now. So, but great, like Keith said, great performance, upsetting Eddie McCaffrey in the first round. But we got our top 2 seeds, and this should be fun that the top 2 seeds got there, guys. The final. And
Kenny, if you don't mind.
First. No, yep. Keith wants to get something in. Absolutely.
Just really quick here, real quick. I know that we're coming up on the hour, guys, and I want to first off acknowledge all the people that have been in the chat, but and been part of the show. I know this is a weird place to put it, guys, but I feel like I need to. We have a brand new show coming out, and I just want to talk about it just for a quick second. It's Rocky's podcast. It's going to be hosted by this guy right here, if I could see his name. Oh, I was trying to get him up here. It's by Scoops. It's by Ryan. It's by Woodhams. Anyway, guys, if you want to check it out, we're going to go ahead and we're going to be promoting it a ton. It's going to be this Friday right after Denver Bronco Roundup. I just wanted to put a quick plug in it right now, but I want to get back to our show, guys. Sorry, that felt like really weird now that I jumped in here and talked about it. I'll talk about it a little bit more at the end.
Yeah, and I'd like to say a couple words too at the end because he is part of K&K as well, and wish him the best of luck over there. So I do have some things I'd like to say as well about Scoops as well. So why don't we get our final out of the way here, and guys, take as much time, audience, to throw as much in the chat as you want about these 2, because they arguably are the 2 best wide receivers in Broncos history. And again, it's Mr. Rod Smith, the 1 seed against Demaryius Thomas. Rest in peace once again, the 2 seed. One last time, I'll throw the stats out there. Rod Smith, 95 to 2006, 183 games, 849 receptions, 11,389 yards, 68 touchdowns versus Demaryius Thomas, 2010 to 2018, 111 games, 665 receptions, 9,055 yards and 60 touchdowns. Different quarterbacks, different era. Curious to see where everybody's going to go in this one, because this one's going to be close, in my opinion. Let's get Trevor first. He was on the bench. Now he made it to the starting lineup. Let's get Trevor.
Ooh, I'm the starter, huh? From the Nikola Jokic now? I know. This is so hard. I mean, again, two different quarterbacks, and just, but I mean, 2 guys that just were fantastic at the position. For me, I think I got to go Rod Smith just because of what he did. Also, life after John Elway, just with Jake Plummer helping him become a Pro Bowl quarterback after playing with a Hall of Fame quarterback in John Elway. No disrespect to DT. Again, rest in peace, Demaryius Thomas. He's my top 2 all-time Denver Broncos wide receivers, but Ross Smith, to me, should be in the Hall of Fame, no doubt about it. And to me, he's probably the guy here. Helped John Elway, get to the Super Bowl and in a big way. And Demaryius Thomas put up a lot of great stats and was key also for Denver. But Ross Smith, to me, probably gets the nod here. Close, very slim, probably by a hair. But Ross Smith, to me, gets the nod here, moves on. Is an all-time Denver Bronco pass catcher.
Yeah, the votes are coming in. I really don't want to take anything away from Dutchie, so I'll let Dutchie get his words in, and then I'll let Keith get to the chat before he gets his final thoughts on voting.
For me, it is DT. What he did in his career, he started with Tim Tebow, and he had a couple of years. He had Peyton Manning, and then he had a couple other quarterbacks after that. So he had several other, even less great quarterbacks than what Rod Smith had, and still had a great career. If he would have still played a couple more years with the Broncos, he would have crushed those numbers from Rod Smith, even with a minor, less than great quarterbacks. For me, it is Demaryius Thomas.
Keith, I'll let you, if you want to hit the comments or if you want to get your thoughts in first, however you want to do it. I got the votes. So anybody who voted, you don't have to get those comments out. I got them written down here.
Yeah, I'll run through them just really quick, man, because we got Graham that came in and says, got to be Rod Smith. Osborne says, sorry, that was a different comment. Jody coming in and saying, Rod Smith, 2 rings, should be in the Hall of Fame. Graham saying the longevity is key. Kurt saying DT, the better player. Smith, the better career. Trevor graduated from Waterboy. That was a great congratulations for you, buddy.
Appreciate it.
Ernie Mays saying Rod Smith takes it all. Roy Osborne saying Rod Smith as well. And I have to go that way. I'm going to go the way of the chat, as we kind of saw. Demaryius Thomas, I would say, kind of like Kurt was saying, Demaryius Thomas was the better player, Smith the better career. Demaryius Thomas was definitely an athlete among athletes. It was amazing, just the body that he put on the field and some of the catches he was able to make. But for a guy to go undrafted, for a guy to go all the way up to the leading wide receiver for the Denver Broncos, to the guy to get 2 rings, to the guy should be in the Hall of Fame, I got to go with Rod Smith. That guy is the heart and soul of what we think of, right alongside John Elway when we think back to all those years and all that success that they had together. So it's got to be for me. It's got to be Rod Smith. So, not being outsaid though, we got another vote in here for DT as well. So, getting back to all my comments. So
I'm going to give everybody 10 seconds to get their final words in. Kurt, you might have not been in the chat earlier, but he's saying he's picking Sharp best of all. I don't know if Kurt had his vote in earlier, but it would have been the tiebreaker. Sharp would have advanced over Rod Smith. Kurt, you could be the reason why Shannon Sharp didn't win it. Just saying. Gotta throw a little jab at my co-host. It
was Pearl that came in with that DT vote at the end here.
I'm gonna give,
I love the jab.
Yeah, little jab to Kurt. You guys ready for the final tally?
I am.
All right. So our 1 seed, Rod Smith, defeated Demaryius Thomas by a score of 6-3 in the final. So not unanimous. So good performance by DT. Rest in peace. Kurt put it in a great way. Better player, better career. So people went with the longevity over the player, it looks like. So Rod Smith won this first annual bracket chat that we had here of all-time pass catchers.
Fantastic.
Great job, guys. Great job, audience. Posse, great job. Great interaction. Tremendous. And, could have easily done quarterbacks. Quarterbacks was going to be Elway Manning, so I thought this one would have been more fun and more challenging for people and get a lot of insight and thoughts out, which you all did. Everybody did, and great job.
Yeah.
So could we do it reverse? The worst quarterback of all time?
Yeah, we can do that. I could do that. I could do a fun one. I could do a fun reverse one. Absolutely.
There's been a lot of bad ones. That could be an easy top. That could be an easy 64 bracket for us. That could be the last 12 years. How many quarterbacks in the last 12 years? We might be able to hit that.
The last 7, 14.
There you go. See, we could have a Sweet 16 really easy.
Yeah, we could do a cornerback list next time. That'd be pretty good.
That would be a tough one. Running back would also be very, very, very fun. Running backs would be fun. But, don't get me wrong. I think there would be a lot of mid-round battles. in running backs. I think we might all come to the same number one.
We already
Cutler,
started.
Ernie Mays. Cutler was not the worst, buddy. I got to tell you, man. That's but Graham, we appreciate you. That was fantastic, and that was fun. And we really got to thank Kenny Kirkpatrick, man. He really saved our bacon. Came up with a fantastic idea for our show and our podcast this week, and man, I really, really, really appreciate it. Maurice Claret is the is the best running back. Okay, we took a flyer. I'll give you that. Tim Tebow, the worst. Laugh out loud says.
Well, we might have to do this one.
Paxton Lynch.
Do this one, Keith. The next time you guys bring me on, you might have to do this worst because you're getting a lot of interaction on it already. So
no kidding. People love to pick on the worst.
That could be pretty fun when on an off week when you guys want to do something. Let me know and I'll work on one of these for you all.
Absolutely, man. I know that Michael's coming in saying great show, and everyone's applauding everything that we were doing in here. I did want to get to maybe one or two more things. I just want to give our co-hosts maybe a chance to talk about any headlines or anything they wanted to talk about that was big in their mind before we got out here. I know that we're up against the hour, so Trevor, I'll head over to you first. Anything big in news or headlines that you want to talk about in the Denver Broncos since we last talked?
Yeah, I mean, you're starting to hear a little bit more buzz of Minnesota or Denver moving up in the draft. Now, Ian Rappaport, we said last week when he was asking Sean Payton at the owners meeting, is it realistic that you guys possibly move up? And Sean kind of backfired, kind of that question kind of backfired Ian Rappaport when he said it on TV. Now he's backtracked a little bit. Now it is realistic that Denver trades up with Minnesota. So just something to keep an eye on going forward. I don't know, how likely it's going to happen, but, just kind of something that stuck out to me. Wouldn't be surprised if we see something, probably not anytime before the draft, but on draft night. Denver might get a little bit aggressive, but no, it's kind of, the little time between free agency and the draft right now. We got a couple pre-draft workouts coming in as well. So, just can't wait to see what the Broncos do. It sounds like tight end might be a little bit of an area they're going to want to address more than we actually thought. That was Mike Kliss. There was a show he was on yesterday. He was kind of talking about it a little bit. We all know Mike Kliss, the guy that's really intel with the Broncos, with the Broncos. So tight end might be something that, that we end up targeting a little bit sooner than we may have thought. So just something to keep in mind. But I just want to thank Kenny for coming on. And it was a great show. And thank you everybody for joining us tonight. It was really awesome, really fun. Go back in history a little bit and relive this all and kind of honor a lot of these great wide receivers in Denver Bronco history. And so I just want to thank everybody for being on with us. And can't wait to see you guys Friday. And make sure to go check out Scoop's show as well on Friday. Be right after Denver Bronco Roundup. And just appreciate you all. And go Broncos.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, man. That was a good wrap up and some good information on what we should be looking for, Trevor, man. Albert, jumping over to you, man. I knew that you had a couple ideas on your mind. Anything you want to share with Broncos country?
Absolutely. I want to share something. The Kansas City Chiefs, they are trying something new, and they signed a rugby player, and not just any rugby player, a rugby player that is the fastest person in the NFL right now. On average, he does 24 miles per hour runs and multiple times a game in the rugby. So that is if that really works out for them, I think we have something to worry about because that is super speed, faster than Tyreek Hill and some other players that we know. Because so far the fastest player in the NFL is 22 miles per hour. So that's something to worry about. I also want to thank everybody in the chat and the posse because that was amazing. We had such a good synergy here, and it's always wonderful. We want to thank Ernie, Pearl, Roy, Patrick, Michelle, Adam and Kayla, Graham, Scoop, Michael, Jody, Eddie, Jay, Kurt. Thank you for all being there. It was amazing.
I agree, man. The posse, man, they came in strong. They came in hard. They were You guys are really brought it tonight, man. Lots of comments, lots of interaction, lots of votes going either way. Hopefully, we didn't disappoint you too much in where we came out in the Elite Eight that Kenny put together and naming our number one, Rod Smith. Hopefully, those battles back and forth as we got there weren't too upsetting to anybody out there. They were great battles, man. Great battles and great people going up against each other. Even in the chat, even in the posse. So, Kurt Valente is giving us some final thoughts as well. Again, a happy birthday to our good friend and co-host Albert Mile High Dutchy. It wasn't an April Fool's joke; that was for real. Graham's giving some great praise to Mr. Trevor here, saying Trevor's always got great closing thoughts. I agree, man. Absolutely. Not only closing thoughts, but mid thoughts and beginning thoughts and random thoughts, you name it. Appreciate Trevor a ton. So Kurt's wondering, will the new jerseys definitely be orange or will we see blue? Because again, as Michael's hinted at, the Broncos tease, they'll be dropping new jerseys on April 22nd, just 3 days before the NFL draft. So new jersey, maybe new quarterback. And that's kind of what one of my closing thoughts was going to be, guys. I bet you can't guess. I went to Pro Football Network and they have all the top 30 visits out there for all of the teams. And I started looking, I'm like, I kept seeing the same name pop up again and again and again, being brought in for a top 30 visit for a quarterback. Anybody want to guess what the number one, as per Pro Football Network, is the number one top 30 visit quarterback that's seen more visits than any other quarterback?
JJ McCarthy.
Go ahead.
JJ McCarthy.
JJ McCarthy. JJ McCarthy is tied for 1, 2, 4th.
I'll throw a guess out.
Okay.
Michael Penix.
Michael Penix is 2nd.
Ooh, close.
And was brought in by the Denver Broncos, by the way, if anybody didn't know that. We got JJ McCarthy out there as a guess. We have Rattler as a guess.
Is it Michael Pratt?
Michael Pratt. No, I do not have him even listed on my list as far as a top 30 visit. It's not Hartman either. How about this name, guys? How about, I got to make sure I got this name right. Want to make sure. Michael Hires of Samford, not Stanford, that's Samford. Michael Hires, he's got some pretty dang impressive stats, if I do say so myself. Michael Hires, 2023 stats, he was 72% completion, 3,056 yards, 18 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and 3 rushing touchdowns as well. Might want to get yourself connected to a Michael Hires, 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 out of Samford, because as of now, he's had 6 different visits with teams. Penix comes in with 4, McCarthy with 2, May with 2, Daniels is 2, Jordan Travis with 2, and I'm sorry, Joe Milton with 1. I got Joe Milton with 1. So that being said, guys, as Graham said, oh, never heard of him. Laugh out loud. Who is he? Yeah, that's just kind of the reaction I was getting. That's why I had to do a little bit of research, watched a little bit of video on him. Maybe he's one of those late round guys that everyone's kind of trying to target, guys. Take a look and maybe watch for Michael Hires. So that's the last thing I got as I'm getting out of here. Besides that, I got to say thank you to Kenny, and I got to give Kenny as much time to plug, and then I got to plug a little bit of our own, as you know, Kenny, as we get out of here.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to take up much time. I can't say how much time I enjoy coming on your shows, and I love when, as crazy as this sounds, I love when it's like an off week where there's not much news going on in teams, because then I love bringing in the unique segments, and I hope this was unique and fun for everybody in the audience as well as you guys, because I had a blast doing it, and come up with some unique stuff. K&K Sports Show, I'll just plug the Wednesday show. You can check us tomorrow night on Mountain Time Zone 6 p.m. Mountain Time Zone. You want to see some more of that unique stuff, come hang out with us. March Madness, baseball, football, open agenda, whatever you guys want to talk about, we'll throw it out there at you. But real quick, Trevor and I are working on another mock draft. We share it on both of our pages, a combined show. And more importantly, NFL draft night, we're going to do 3 days of coverage, Keith. We're combining our shows. And audience, we're going to have one of the best shows ever. Panel members from both shows, guests from outside, audience members want to join us. But we're going to have live coverage from the draft. And hopefully, when our teams are picking, we can be there with Carson. As Goodell's up on the podium, he can get us, the live pick coming before you even seen on TV. We can get it live for you at the draft for our teams. So
amazing.
Looking forward to that. Can't wait for that. Thank you guys so much. Really enjoyed the night with you guys. And Keith, I know you wanted to say a couple things, and I'd like to say a couple things as well when you're done.
Absolutely, man. I'll let you have final words, man. My final words really getting out of here is I just got to give a lot of big thank yous. Rocky Mountain Sports Network. That's who we're brought to you by, guys. Rocky Mountain Sports Network. You can check them out at RockyMountainSN.com. I promise you guys, we actually have some new material coming out here very, very shortly over at RockyMountainSN.com. Rocky Mountain Sports Network, that's who we're brought to you by. We appreciate them so much. Morgan Trinkets, our wonderful sponsor, whether you're looking for Southwest jewelry, whether you're looking for Southwest pottery, whether you're looking for estate gold at wholesale prices, whether you're just looking for some amazing pieces, check out Morgan Trinkets. That's Morgan Trinkets on Facebook.com. Again, fantastic stuff. Great free shipping on anything over $50, guys. And believe me, you'll find $50 really quick to spend. Amazing, amazing products. Lastly, I got to give that last little presentation, that last little try at what I tried to do earlier. And that's, we do have a fantastic show coming up on Friday. We're going to be covering your Rockies like you've never seen before. A live show, Scoops. Mr. Ryan Woodhams is coming in. He's coming in with a brand new podcast. It's called Settle the Scores, guys. Can't wait for you guys to see it. It's going to be coming up on the Rocky Mountain Sports Network right after our show on Friday. And that brings me to this, guys. Every Tuesday, every Friday, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. That's when you can find the Denver Bronco Roundup. We appreciate all of you guys that are sharing, and subscribing out there. We appreciate guys like Patrick Wiltsey, who has walked away as our contest giveaway winner. We'll be having more of those. So make sure that you guys are going out there and giving us all the love like you always have. And we appreciate you guys a ton. We're gonna continue to do so, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn it over one last time to Kenny before we get out of here, and then I'll sign off, buddy.
Yeah, no, just like you said with Scoops, what's the score? He also, he started with us in K&K, and he's still part of K&K, and wealth of knowledge, and he's going to do great things with the Rockies podcast, and I can't wait to see what he does. And out of all the sports, and he knows every sport, I truly think baseball is above and beyond. So you guys are in for a treat with Scoops for sure. And good luck. Just look forward to seeing it Friday night. Debut episode.
Absolutely. Settle the Scores with Mr. Scoops, man. Can't wait to have him on Friday. Can't wait for you guys to see, again, some fantastic Rockies coverage as the Rocky Mountain Sports Network continues to cover all your Colorado sports needs, whether it be Broncos, Rockies, Avalanche, or Nuggets. They've got you covered, guys. But we're going to get out of here. Thank you guys for a fantastic episode. Thanks for all the interaction. I like this idea from Graham saying we should do an all-time Broncos plays ranking. It's the helicopter versus the drive versus, you name it. That would be a fun one as well. You guys are fantastic. Always jumping in here, always being a part of the show. That's why we're here. It's what we do. We do it for you, even though we love the Broncos as well. But that being said, remember, keep your feet in the stirrups, keep your guns in the holsters, keep your Broncos in your hearts. And until next time, guys, we're going to get out of here. Have a great night. Thank you so much. Peace out.